Welcome to the Guys Review, where we review media.
Where we
products.
look at pictures of people's buttholes.
Well, I mean, it's
I don't know.
It's Sunday, so
Trey does at least.
Well, we know Trey does.
Yes.
My name is Steven. I'm one of your two co-hosts or two hosts. I don't know how that's weird when there's only two of us. The other guy with me is Tucker. Say hello, Tucker.
What's going on, guys?
So Trey is on a vacation this week. He's doing his what's it called? The
cruise.
Yeah, the cruise thing with his work. So Trey will not be joining us. Chris is apparently waiting for his wife to get home.
Because he has to have her permission to come out and play.
Trolling Tucker in our text group before we got started here. So
I stand by what I said. He has to have her permission to come out and play.
Like you don't either.
I've already told you. I tell my wife to jump and she says how high.
No, she tells you to go jump in a river. As she should. God, I hope she hears you.
I can't help that my wife listens to me and yours doesn't.
I'm going to text her that you're talking shit about her and have her come out and slap you before she leaves. And
she won't do it.
$10. Oh, okay. All right. I hate to do this while we're recording, but not just because you said that.
Well, she's already gone now, so.
Oh. Well, that sucks. Never mind then. All right. Well,
so she won't be coming out to do it.
Yeah, unfortunately. So it was Chris's choice this week, and Chris decided he wanted to do Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which I think is a great choice. And Chris should be joining us, hopefully, before we actually get to the movie. But before we get to the movie, let's talk about our weeks. Tucker, how was your week?
Man, it was good. We had a busy week at work, and I've been working on shit from a search warrant we did since Tuesday. It's pretty big. We're going to take the case federal. Nice.
You called me last week to tell me about a search warrant. Is this what you're talking about? The search warrant you executed? I never got to talk to you about that.
Yeah, obviously, I can't go into a whole lot of detail, but it's turned out to be pretty damn big. It's going to be a good case, and like I said, it's going to go to the federal court in Montgomery when it's all said and done.
That's awesome, man.
So, yeah, another one going to federal prison.
Yep. All right. I wanted to ask real fast. So, how does it feel to be in last place in the Pick'em, or at least to come in last this week?
Yeah, I'm not in last place. I picked some long shots. You know what? Although I will say this, Ole Miss was not that bad of a long shot. They really weren't.
I mean, I'll give it to you that you picked Ole Miss for one. So, I mean, you know, because my long shot that I picked this week that no one else got was UCF.
UCF, yeah, it was a good pick.
Yeah,
and then,
but I only did it for 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, there were some upsets. So I'm still in third, and I'm still close enough to catch everybody. And let's see, who is the big upset that I have?
Oh yeah, I actually didn't even notice that you're in third now. Behind
Chris.
Purdue
beat Illinois. That was my big upset this week.
Yeah, I had them for 9 points, and so did you.
Yeah.
The other one that really sucked was who is it? The Spartans. The last one. That one and Baylor. Of course, Baylor was only 3 points for me. But we all picked Baylor over.
Baylor was 4 for me, but I still figured Baylor was going to beat K-State.
So did I. So
I mean, yeah, I'm in third, but I'm 1 point behind Chris.
You're in last this week, but yeah, third overall.
I'm 1 point behind Chris, and I'm 12 points behind you. And Trey is, if we give him the 20 points that he wanted, I'm still ahead of him.
Yeah, you're still ahead of him by 3.
I mean, it's still a close race. It's still anybody's season.
Yeah, anyone can come in second now. It's great. Look, here's and this is the truth. I have intentionally not talked shit because I know how thin of a line that is and how quickly it can turn. And so I don't want to talk a bunch of shit and then have a bad week and it just go to hell, you know?
I mean, yeah.
But the problem is Trey's got no heart. If they put the Iron Bowl on there, Trey's gonna pick Alabama for 10 points. And I just don't have the heart to do that.
Not that game. I would pick Auburn for 1.
That's exactly what I would do. I'd sacrifice my 1 spot.
Yeah, I would pick Auburn for 1.
But
If they
so
put and you know they're going to put that on there because that's a huge
it's a
rivalry.
huge game. Oh yeah, they're definitely going to put that on there. It's on there every year for the rivalry week.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'll lose a point that week, and then there's always that. It's like Rocky said. There's always a sluggish chance,
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair. I
especially
mean,
with Alabama playing like they are this year because they're not
and
the greatest team.
like we were talking about with the heart that this team has, and like how much the fans are behind them and everything. Is the game? Where is the game this year? Is it in Alabama or is it in Tuscaloosa or is it in Auburn?
I want to say it's in Tuscaloosa, but I am not 100% sure.
I believe in 2022. It's an even year. I can't remember if the word. Yeah. 2010 was in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah,
So,
it's in Tuscaloosa.
so yeah, I don't know, man.
That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
But
I mean, it's possible.
there's always a sluggish chance.
Yeah.
Because we came from what 28 points down there.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
Now, granted, that was with Cam.
Yeah, you mean like an actual quarterback?
So look, I'm going to say this about our football team, and I've said it to you, I've said it to John, I've said it to everybody. Robbie Ashford's not that great of a quarterback, but he's all we've got.
Yep.
First and foremost. But it doesn't matter how good your quarterback is because that offensive line is so fucking bad that you, me, John, Chris, and Trey could probably get penetration.
Yeah. When you're having to scramble on every single play, no matter what, and they're just bringing three.
And we're all close to, if not over fucking 40.
Yeah.
That offensive line is bad.
Well, and here's the thing, and truthfully, like I don't feel that bad for Brian Harsin, to be completely honest with you, because I mean he made a couple of $1 million, like $20 million. So
and I think Harsin's a good coach. I don't think he's a good SEC coach. And I think everything that happened to him at Auburn may not entirely be his fault.
Mm-hmm.
But he did himself absolutely no favors.
No, he did not. The other thing I want to tell you about my week, and I think this is okay to say, I was hanging out with my neighbor, whose name I will not mention, and one of
tell Craig I said hello.
Yeah, exactly. And we go over to his house, and he was like, "Oh, here, let me check this out." And he opens up this box, and he's growing mushrooms. And I was like, "Cool, man," because he had like a lot. He liked plants and stuff like that. I was like, he kind of was like smiling at me, and I was like, "Wait a minute, are those like mushrooms?" He was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh shit, that is, oh god." And
fucking illegal, is that the word you're looking for? Because I think it is.
And so it was pretty funny, but it's so I don't know. He said if I ever want to, he'll let me do one. So we'll see. I got to talk to Trey a little bit more about it. But yeah, Jesus. It was a surprise. I did not see that one coming. So, I did text Trey and told him, and he was like, "Dude, we should do a Shroomed and Doomed episode."
I want no part of that. Anyway, I want no fucking part of that.
Well, no one's saying you have to do it. We just, you just have to chat with us.
The Cowboys are going to fuck around and lose to Green Bay, or at least go into overtime with them.
Let's see. We don't have. I checked. I didn't get an email from Marcus this week. Twitter DM group.
Jesus Christ, Marcus!
I know, right? Being lazy.
You're fucking fired.
Just because the sun doesn't come up in Sweden anymore, he's not emailing us anymore. I guess. Actually, I think he's busy getting his dick wet, which I'll actually allow.
Yeah, but it's with communist pussy, so does it really count?
I mean, anyone can get the pussy. That's the thing about communist pussy.
Exactly.
But if you do want to make fun of us in real time, you can do it in our Twitter DM group. Just go to the Twitter page, which is at @the_guysreview. Like to tweet at the top of the page, throw in the DM group, or you can send me an email and I will read it poorly at theguysreviewpod@gmail.com. So I was going to ask Chris and Trey about the rating for Saving Private Ryan, but no one's here. And we're still I mean, I guess I can't wait for Chris, so I guess we'll just
He can jump in when he gets here.
go on into Monty Python. So did the research and all that anyway. So
There you go.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail is directed by Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones, starring Graham Chapman, John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, Eric Idle, Terry Jones, and Michael Palin. It was released on April 3rd, 1975, on a budget of $400,000, which is only $2.2 million today. It grossed $5 million, which is $27.7 million today. So I'd say it's a financial success. Ratings, IMDb gives it an 8.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 98%. Metacritic, 91%. Google users.
I'm the only one here, so it doesn't really matter what I say. If I say 1, I'm going to be closest to.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. But I mean, try to get it right.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I'm going to go with a safe, what I feel like is a safe number. And I'm going to go with 80%.
Oh my God. You're super low. 91%. Same as the Metacritic.
Okay.
And normally I would, do the award thing about you being shiny and freedom units and all that. But although it garnered high praise when it came out, it was not nominated for any awards. So,
look, I can count in metric. We have 9mm.
Yeah, exactly.
We have 10 millimeters.
And
I'm about done.
First time you saw the movie. Do you remember the first time you saw this one?
I was a kid. I want to say I was probably 11, 12, 13, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
And I saw it on TBS or USA or something. It was stupid and campy, but I remember enjoying it when I was a kid.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine, this guy named Evan, and I don't remember how it came up, but he was like, "You've never seen Monty Python?" I was like, "No." So he literally pulls out the VHS tape, puts it in, and we sat there and watched it. And I was like, this is so funny and stupid. Just that. I mean, in the first, you can't even get through the credits before you realize how dumb this movie's going to be. How funny.
Yeah, because they're doing part of the credits in fucking
Swedish.
Swedish.
Well, it's fake Swedish.
Well, yes.
I love that whole thing. Like when once a moose bit my sister and all this stuff. It's so stupid.
It's stupid. God, it's dumb.
And then they sack the people, and then those who've been sacked have been sacked, and da 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 da. Did you? So
Yeah.
This is a little bit of trivia, but the reason the credits, so instead of it being like an animation or anything else that you usually get from Monty Python, the reason the credits are like that is because that was the last thing they did, and they literally just run out of money, and so they had to do these kind of bland, black and white, and then they obviously go into that Fiesta flashing lights credits, but it's just the cheapest credits they could come up with, they could get done.
I can see that. I mean,
Yeah.
$400,000 is for a movie, even back then, is not a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Because this movie finished it's the second best comedy of all time, according to the ABC special best in film, the greatest movies of our time. It finished behind Airplane, which came out in 1980, which was only 5 years later. And it had a budget of $3.5 million. So I mean, it's literally almost 10 times the budget of this movie.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. In AD,
I guess 9 times.
Yeah. In 932 AD, King Arthur and his squire, Patsy, travel Britain searching for men to join the Knights of the Round Table. Along the way, Arthur debates whether swallows could carry coconuts, passes through a town infected with the Black Death, recounts receiving...
African or European swallows.
Recounts receiving Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake to oh my God, Ancro Syndicate. Whoa, I should have read this first.
Anarcho-syndicalist.
Syndicalist peasants.
Yeah.
He defeats the Black Knight, and observes an impromptu witch trial. He recruits Sir Bedivere the Wise, Sir Lancelot the Brave, Sir Galahad the pure, Sir Robin the not quite so brave as Sir Lancelot, along with their squires and Robin's minstrels. Arthur leads the knights to Camelot. Hold on. But after a musical number, changes his mind, deeming it a silly place. As they turn away, God appears and orders Arthur to find the Holy Grail.
So, anarcho-syndicalism is a political philosophy and anarchist school of thought that views revolutionary industrial unionism or syndicalism as a method for workers in a capitalist society to gain control of an economy and thus control influence in a broader society.
So they're commies.
Yeah, sort of. They're. I'd say they're probably they're anarchists.
I mean, I don't know. It's it's a funny scene. Like I get it, but like going into like what it actually means and everything, it's just like
Yeah, it kind of takes away from it a little bit.
Kind of takes away a little bit from it.
It's a little bit of a second level humor that kids wouldn't get, but adults kind of do. It's kind of like the whole capitalism. All right, so the debate with the swallows,
which carries through this whole movie.
It does. It's so dumb. I mean, it is so damn dumb.
Well, I mean, because you get through the credits that were silly, and then the first thing you hear this horse galloping, you're expecting to see a guy come riding over this hill on this big horse, and it's literally just a dude
skipping.
Galloping, a guy skipping with a guy behind him banging coconuts together. It's just like, and it's like,
I get.
Do you ignore it or you lean into it? And obviously they chose to fucking just lean into it.
I get that this is the whole British humor, and it's a little different than what we as Americans are used to. This movie is
super British,
discombobulated so bad at times that the older I get, that it's kind of the harder it is to watch. Like I remember looking back or thinking back on this movie going, oh, this has kind of, because it's probably been 15, 20 years since I've watched this movie.
Right.
And I'm going, all right, I remember this having kind of like a Mel Brooks feel to it. It's very self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch it today and I'm like, I don't remember some of this stuff, and this is fucking dumb. I'm laughing at it, but it's still fucking dumb.
So the Patsy character was supposed to have like way more lines, and he was going to like break the fourth wall a whole lot, but for whatever reason they cut a bunch of his lines, and so the one line he has is when they get to Camelot and they're like, Camelot, it's only a model. That's his only line, and he still does break the fourth wall, and kind of because it is just a 20-foot tall or like a cutout of the castle.
One thing that I do love about this movie is it's very memeable, and it is very quotable, especially some of the characters like the Black Knight.
Oh yeah.
And then the whole "run away" that King Arthur does. Because you go up to anybody, and I mean almost anybody, especially anybody our age or older, and you go, "'Tis but a scratch." Everybody knows where that came from.
Yeah, I've recently seen like people that have stickers on their car, and it's like it's the Black Knight with no arms, and it's just "'tis but a scratch."
I've actually seen people put that sticker on like dents and shit in their car, like not bad accidents. The car's still drivable, but serious enough accidents where like their bumper's fucked up or their tail light's busted, and there'll be a Black Knight sticker that says "'tis but a scratch."
Love it.
So I mean, the movie is very, very quotable, very memeable.
It's very much in our zeitgeist. Still, like 50 years later.
And I don't know. I'm going to spoil it a little bit. I'll say this: it's a funny movie, not my favorite movie, but I don't see how this hasn't been preserved in the National Archives.
Well, it's not ours to preserve. Now, maybe I don't know if the British do the same thing like we do, and maybe it is.
But I can't find anything that says this has been preserved for whatever.
I don't know. So and so that there's a stage production of this movie, right?
Yeah.
and it's called Spamalot,
Yes. 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 Yes.
which is after a line in the song at Camelot. But I don't
Yeah.
know if the stage production is if it's a full on musical or if it's just like just a stage production of the whole movie. It's
Uh, I
one that I've
think
never
it's
seen, unfortunately.
from what I'm looking at. It's supposed to be pretty pretty similar. It looks like.
Hmm.
Um, one thing that was funny, and I did laugh out loud because I had forgotten this part when they're going through the city and they're talking about the Black Death, and it's like, bring out your dad, bring out your dad,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy's tracking this guy over his shoulders like, I'm not dead,
I'm not dead yet. I
and
feel
then
happy.
and then the dude whacks him in the back of the head with a club. I had
You'll be
completely
stoned at the
forgotten about
moment.
that part. I had completely forgotten about that part in the movie.
Oh, I love that. I did. So John Cleese, who is the guy who's carrying the old man, he actually also plays the Black Knight. By the way,
Yeah, he's got several roles in this movie.
well, they all do, but yeah, John
Well,
Cleese.
yeah,
I think Michael Palin, which is Sir Galahad the Pure, he has the most. He has like 12, and then what's his name? Graham Chapman, who plays King Arthur,
hmm
has the least amount of roles. He's only got like 4 roles. But
well,
I mean,
it's kind of
he's the king. He's in pretty much every scene.
it's kind of like the movie Clerks, where they had fucking 8 guys playing every character in the movie.
Yeah. But now, what they did do differently, what they used to do, usually, like when Monty Python, when they still had the Flying Circus, the TV show, any females, any women characters were, I believe, played by Michael Palin, dressed as a woman. And I know Eric Idle would do some women occasionally too, but this one they actually. So the witch in the witch scene was John Cleese's wife at the time.
Really,
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that.
And apparently, I want to go back and watch it again, but apparently, Eric Idle, uh, at one point he starts biting on the scythe that he's holding, and it's because he was about to break because he was laughing at John Cleese behind him. But
Nice.
the only other thing I was going to say is just a little interesting note about just to think about, I guess, whatever. So they shot this in Scotland, like on location.
Yeah,
The King Arthur wears real chainmail, but everyone else they're wearing knitted wool that's supposed to look like chainmail. So they're all cold and wet this whole thing, and actually, it's part of the reason most of the cast, the Monty Python, do not look favorably upon this movie because it was apparently a very miserable shooting experience.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it is Scotland, so
Yeah, it's cold,
cold,
cold, and rainy.
dreary.
Yeah. All right.
Could have gone to Ireland, but I had picked Scotland.
Well, from what I understand, Ireland's just as rainy and cold too.
Yes, but they have the Irish, and they have Irish whiskey,
Well, that's fair.
and that makes things better.
Well, I mean, Scottish have Scotch.
The Irish have Irish whiskey and Guinness.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have bourbon anyways.
It's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Arthur and his knights arrive at a castle occupied by French soldiers who claim to have the Grail and taunt the Britons, driving them back with a barrage of barnyard animals. Belvedere concocts a plan to sneak in using a Trojan rabbit, but no one hides inside of it, and the Britons are forced to flee when it is flung back at them. Arthur decides the knights should go their separate ways to search for the Grail. A modern-day historian filming a documentary on the Arthurian legends is killed by an unknown knight on horseback, triggering a police investigation.
Interesting little side note. That's the only time you see someone riding a fucking horse in this movie.
That's true. The only time a horse was used. Well, I think there was a horse in another scene, but like it was just like in the background.
Maybe. All right, so this is another one of those scenes again that is very memeable, very quotable.
Yep.
with the French in the castle, which is the Frenchman doing the taunting, by the way, is John Cleese.
Yes, it is.
Yep, and he's yeah, it is the whole "I fart in your general direction." Um,
Your mother was a hamster, and your father
sorry, and your
smelled of
father smelled of
elderberries.
elderberries. Yep, that's again. You say those things to people, and they instantly know where that's from,
Yeah.
even if they haven't really seen the movie. It's so much in our everyday usage zeitgeist, for lack of a better word, that people know what it is. And I
Yeah.
think that's one thing about this movie that they do very well is it has become a timeless movie that everybody knows.
It's super quotable, and I mean, I don't know if it was written that way, but it's just so easily quotable. But I mean, they've got a lot of famous bits that are still, the Ministry of Silly Walks, the Dead Parrot is one of them that's been done and done and done.
It's still very culturally relevant because we as a society keep reintroducing it to people that are younger than us.
Yeah.
Because I knew about "Tis But a Scratch" before I even saw this movie. I didn't
Really?
know what it was from, but I had heard it before.
I don't. I can't remember
Um,
if I'd heard. I'm sure that there had been a reference. I just wasn't really sure. Um, it's so silly. The Trojan Rabbit is hilarious.
and then nobody hid inside it, which was
Yeah.
even fucking better.
What was he? He's like myself, Galahad, and Lancelot will hide inside and jump out. Run away! It's so stupid.
It
Um,
really is.
but it's so funny though. It's so well done. I'm just, here's the thing, and like I was thinking about this while watching the movie, going like, okay, so these guys are, I don't know, maybe in their 20s, probably their 30s when they made this movie, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that sounds about right.
And so like watching it as a kid, you're laughing because it's so silly, but like I'm trying to like in my mindset now at 40, like I'm trying to think like could I write something creatively that would be this silly and like make something that would be this silly, you know?
Well, I think the difference is they're they're a different style of comedy than what we have. We could never write something like this
Yeah.
because American comedy style is so totally different. I mean, you look at what came Airplane that came out
Mhm.
about this time. Airplane was stupid,
Yeah.
but it was to me. I like that movie better than this movie.
See, and I think because I saw this one first, I still to this day prefer British comedy. I love British comedies. I think they're hilarious. But I like that dry sensibility.
I've seen a lot of British comedies, and they're not my favorite. They're not what I would go to if I'm going to watch a stupid old comedy. I'm going to watch Ghostbusters. I'm going to watch Airplane. I'm going to watch Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Um, Monty Python is not the first thing that comes to my mind. It's actually pretty low down the list for me. Um,
Yeah. I love British TV shows, and I think I've decided if I ever get divorced, I'm gonna move across the pond and find me a British girl or an Irish girl.
Good luck.
Why?
They got teeth that could.
That's an old
Hmm.
stereotype.
Yeah, but there's some truth to it.
Well, maybe there is, but I'll find one. I got to think about teeth, so I'll find one with good teeth.
Just show her your teeth, and you'll be love at first sight.
I mean, we
No,
got
the little clicky
I
thing.
know
Yeah,
a few.
that. Fuck you. That's yeah. Well,
You hear that?
that's disgusting. No,
All right. Moving on. Arthur and Bedivere are. Is it Bedivere?
Bedivere,
Bedivere are
Bedivere.
are given directions by an old man attempting to satisfy the strange requests of the dreaded knights who say "Nee." Sir Robin avoids a fight with a three-headed knight by running away while the heads are arguing amongst themselves. Sir Galahad is led by a grail-shaped beacon to Castle Anthrax, which is occupied exclusively by young women ages what did she say, like between 18 and 27 or something like that?
Yeah, they're They're
Okay.
adults, but they're
Yeah.
young.
Who wished to be punished for misleading him, but he is unwillingly, quote unquote, rescued by Lancelot. Lancelot receives an arrow-shot note from Swamp Castle. Believing the note is from a lady being forced to marry against her will, he storms the castle and slaughters several members of the wedding party, only to discover the note is from an effeminate prince. So I read about this. I was reading about it today, and like basically, I can't remember which one it was. But one was like, this is basically an episode of their flying circus. That
Yes.
each scene is its own sketch. And what they wrote, what I read was that the way they chose who played what part is basically who wrote each of their little scenes. So all of them wrote their scenes for their characters, basically.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of
So this was probably one of the dumbest parts of the movie to me, the Knights Who Say Knee. It's stupid. Like they have to go find a fucking bush. They go find said
a shrubbery.
They go find said bush.
Shrubbery.
They take it back to the Knights Who Say Knee, who now say they are the Knights Who Say
Eki,
Icky, 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 Patangzily Bang.
It's so stupid.
So fucking dumb. Like I'm watching this going, fuck, is this thing gonna end anytime soon?
The best part,
bad.
And then Sir Robin shows up, and they're like, "Oh, I was looking for it. I said the word. He said the word." They start freaking out because they keep saying "it" because it is like a word they can't say or hear or something. I said it. Oh no, I said it again. I keep saying it. It's so funny. It's stupid, but it's so funny. But it's not like Jim Carrey stupid zany. It's just like a lot of it's silly, but it's like it's clever silly. It's good wordplay silly,
I'll give you that. I did like the scene with Sir Galahad going to Castle Anthrax.
Well, yeah, of course.
That was funny. Like, yes, we need to be punished. And then the oral sex.
Yeah. And he finally starts like turning that corner of, well, I guess I can stay a little bit. And then Lancelot's like, come on, I'm gonna save you. Take him on. If you notice, right before they cut, too, like after they're outside, as he's being drug away, Lancelot or Galahad keeps saying like, I can take him on. Don't worry about me. I could use some of this peril, and he's like, no, it's too perilous. And then right before it cuts away, Galahad goes, I bet you're gay, and Lancelot goes,
I did, yeah.
So apparently, in the stage production, they have Lancelot. I can't remember how it comes about, but Lancelot comes out as gay in the stage production.
Jesus, I did not know that.
I didn't either. And then just also, so Graham Chapman, the guy who plays King Arthur, he was gay, like in real life. And I mean, when this was made back when they got started, 75, and they got started in the 60s, like he lived out as an out gay man in the 60s and 70s, which is pretty much unheard of at that point in time.
Yeah.
So
and I think there were questions about some other big British actors and singers and stuff, but nobody knew for sure. But he was out there just
doing his
thing. This is me.
Well, I mean, even Freddie Mercury wasn't out. I mean, he was obviously gay, but he was not out. I don't think he was ever out in his lifetime.
Well, we know this now, but I would say Freddie Mercury, up until I think he basically came out when he got AIDS.
Yeah. Well, he only said he had AIDS literally like the day before he died. And, at that point, it was still, everyone kind of thought it was a quote unquote gay disease.
Yeah.
So
Lancelot storming the castle by himself and slaughtering fucking everybody.
Which is so funny because he literally would like just do that to someone and then they just fall down.
But
And
it didn't matter. If it was in his way, he attacked it. Bride, lady decorating, actual guard, maid
uh,
cleaning the stairs. If you were in the way, you were
the
getting something chopped off.
there was the hanging flowers on the wall, and he also
Hey,
hit
yep.
and the minstrels that were playing, and he hit the stage, and it falls down. I love it.
Again, it's dumb,
But it is
but
also
it's
funny. It's the dad that is very self aware of them being in a movie because his son will start to sing, and he's like, "Oh, stop that, no singing." I think I read actually
yeah,
today that John Cleese said that his favorite scene in the whole movie is that bit where the guy trying to explain to the guards to keep him in here and don't let him leave, and that whole like
that
because
was pretty good.
the reason he likes it so much is because it's two cameras, like a medium shot and a wide shot, and that's it. It's just a very static shot, but it's a lot of dialogue and a lot of back and forth, and a lot of it's really knowing your timing,
Yeah.
And then when Lancelot
Um,
comes in, I love the guy's like, "No, you're not supposed to be here," and he stabs him.
let's see. Uh, and then coming up next is probably my favorite part of the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else with Castle Anthrax, which was all the women. Apparently, also, by the way, the women were originally going to be naked.
But there's no way they'd have gotten a PG for that. And
Yeah.
honestly, in 1975, this probably would have been NC, or wow.
Well,
No, I don't
here's
think
the
NC-17 was a rating. I think it was been rated X.
X. If you have you ever watched, I think it's The Life of Brian. No, no, the meaning. It's Monty Python, The Meaning of Life. You said you don't like British comedy, so
Yeah, not really.
in the meaning of life, there's a bit where this guy is sentenced to die, but just like I guess maybe you get to choose how you die, and so it cuts to him being chased by a bunch of topless women.
It's fair. I would choose old age, but
Yeah, and he ends up being run off. He ends up being run off a cliff. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, bunch of topless women. So it's you got to remember this is not America. This is Britain, man. They've got they're not as they're a little more free with the nipple than we are.
that's fair. But there were probably 25, 30 women in that scene,
Probably.
and it was a fairly long scene. I don't think you're getting away with that in 1975.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right with the rating, and also because of where they were shooting, with it being so dank and cold and stuff. Don't want to do that to them.
It would have been boing boing, turkey's done the entire time.
Pretty
Which
much.
again, I'm perfectly fine
I
with.
mean, I'm in for it. I mean, the doctors that came and tended to him, they were a little nipply. All right, so Arthur and his knights regroup and are joined by three new knights, as well as Brother Maynard and his monk brethren. They meet Tim the Enchanter, who directs them to a cave where oh, I know why you like this part. Where the location of the Grail is said to be written. The entrance to the cave is guarded by the rabbit of, oh my God, Canterbang.
Carabanog.
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 Okay. Underestimating it, the knights attack, but the rabbit easily kills Bors, Gawain, and Ector. Arthur uses the holy hand grenade of Antioch, provided by Brother Maynard, to destroy the creature. Inside the cave, they find an inscription from Joseph of Arimathea, directing them to the castle. The rabbit is the best part.
The rabbit in this is fucking hilarious. Again, it is so stupid. It is so damn stupid.
So
But the way they describe it, it's a foul beast
he's
with
got
huge fangs.
big pointy fangs like this. So this is kind of interesting. So everyone always says that the reason that he said that his name is Tim is that John Cleese forgot his line and just improv that.
I can
Apparently,
see that.
well, that's not true. Apparently, according to John Cleese, the only line in the entire movie that is improv is Eric Idle's line early in the movie, like when after King Arthur rides through the Bring Out Your Dead scene, when the king goes through and he says, well, he must be royalty. How do you know? He doesn't have shit all over him.
Oh yeah,
That was actually improvised.
that was the only thing that was improvised in this whole
That's the
movie. The rest
only
of it
thing.
was on script.
Everything was on script.
I don't know that I buy that.
That's what they've said.
I hear you. I don't know that I buy that
So the other thing that was interesting is
because
what?
the Monty Python comedy group, they were improv and sketch comedy.
Yeah.
So I have a really hard time believing they stuck to a script that strict for this entire movie.
I'm just telling you what they said in interviews.
I hear you. I hear you. But
Um,
again, I got a hard time believing that.
so apparently they rented the rabbit, by the way. And so the rabbit's owner was like on set and they put a bunch of red dye. And the only thing the owner said was, I don't want him dirty. I don't want him to get dirty. I want him to stay white. So then they paint the rabbit red. And apparently whatever they used, they couldn't wash it out.
Oh shit.
And apparently the owner got really pissed. And I'm like, dude, I mean, it'll eventually go away.
It'll fade.
It'll fade.
It'll fade.
But like, why? I mean,
so again, this is another one of those things. Everybody knows the rabbit scene.
yeah.
Everybody does. They attack, and then the rabbit kills three guys, and King Arthur, run away, run away.
It's so funny because like there's one part where it's going over the one of the shields, and it's so obviously a puppet,
Right.
But it's just like so fucking savage, and you can see it ripping at people's necks and stuff. It's just like this is
and it decapitates a guy.
Yeah.
The very first night that goes down there, I think that might have been Boars, actually.
I don't know who it was.
But goes on there, it's a little bunny rabbit. I sold me armor for this.
I love after when the rabbit attacks and it kills the guy the first time, it cuts back to them, and then Eric Idle's character goes, I did it again. He sold his armor again.
Movie is infinitely quotable, but again, shoestring. We'll call it a shoestring budget because it wasn't much better than that. It's stupid. It's just a stupid film,
but it's funny.
It is funny at times.
I mean, Ace Ventura is stupid, but it's like I still don't think it's as cerebral as this. To be honest with you, I think this is better. I think this is more well written. Ace Ventura is funny because Jim Carrey is funny. And he's got that rubber face. This is funny because these guys are good writers and they came up with these zany ideas. It's not like overacted or anything like that, like Jim Carrey.
Yeah, but Jim Carrey's overacting is
except for when they meet Tim the Enchanter and he does the whole thing, and then the king turns to the camera and goes, that was quite an eccentric performance. So that was a little bit. What were you saying about Jim Carrey?
I was going to say, I don't think you can really compare this to Jim Carrey because I think that what Jim Carrey did as a comedian is completely different than what the Monty Python guys did as
I mean, it's comedy. It's still a comedy.
It is comedy, but you have different types of comedy, just like you have different types of, you have different types of drama movies and different types of action movies.
Yeah.
They don't all get forced into the same mold. So to sit here and say that this is better than what Jim Carrey does, I think is doing a disservice to Jim Carrey, because some of his earlier work, like Liar Liar, the Ace Ventura movies.
So you saying you want to? Are you saying you want to service Jim Carrey?
No.
Okay.
I said it's doing him a disservice.
So meaning you want to service him? Guac guac. Yeah.
These words don't mean what you think they mean.
No, they absolutely do.
No. You're moving your lips, but you're not saying anything sensible.
Speaking of moving your lips, did you ever talk to your brother-in-law last night or today? Is he still alive?
He posted something on Snapchat earlier.
No, did he? Okay.
My brother-in-law is an A&M graduate, by the way, and well, Auburn beat A&M last night, but it's two shitty teams playing for not last place in the
I know.
SEC.
It's like it wasn't they weren't playing to win, they were playing not to lose.
Pretty much, it was two shitty teams trying not to be last.
Well, what are we like? We're 4-6 now.
Yeah, I think so. But I will
And
say
they're
this:
3-7.
I think that we'd have two more wins if we had an offensive line. Maybe three more wins if we had an offensive line.
I mean, I completely agree with you. I think we could have beaten Mississippi State and I don't know about Ole Miss, LSU.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'd have two or three more wins if we had a fucking line.
I agree. All right, here we go. Castle Arg. An animated cave monster devours Brother Maynard, but Arthur and the knights escape after the animator unexpectedly suffers a fatal heart attack. The knights approach the Bridge of Death, where the bridge keeper demands they answer 3 questions in order to pass or to be cast into the gorge of eternal peril. Lancelot easily answers the simple questions and crosses. Robin is defeated by an unexpectedly difficult question, and Galahad fails an easy one. Both are magically flung into the gorge. When Arthur asks for clarification on an obscure question about swallows, the bridge
and there's that swallow gag again.
Right? The bridge keeper cannot answer and is himself thrown into the gorge.
Again, this is one of those running gags that goes the entire movie, and it's stupid, but they make it work. Like they connect the dots well enough that it's actually kind of funny. I mean, this was your big payoff for that whole swallow gag.
That's fair. It is. Yeah,
and I think it works.
I completely agree. So real fast, so the animator unexpectedly dying from the heart attack.
Yeah,
they literally did that because they wrote like this in, and they couldn't figure out a good way to have them survive. So they were like, well, it's already silly enough. Like, why can't the animator just die and the monster dies? And so
the monster never gets finished. So
that's what they did.
Well, there you go.
And the animator is what's his face? I can't think of his name. Terry Gilliam, who he's also the bridge guy with the weird eye.
Okay, I didn't realize that was the same guy.
Yeah, and he has done a lot of. I'll actually get onto that here in just a little bit. How some of his other movies that he's done, but he's a very prolific director now. Trying to think. I wish I had more to add to this, but I mean, it's just silly. The whole thing, Eric Tim the Enchanter, and just the gorge of eternal peril. This was. Oh, I was gonna say. So this was the first scene that was shot in the movie, and like I said, the guy who plays King Arthur. I don't think I said this in real life was an alcoholic, like a very, very bad alcoholic, and apparently couldn't get alcohol before he shot his scenes, and was having really bad like tremors and shakes and stuff. Like he had to have one of the assistant directors put his costume on to do a wide shot of him crossing the bridge because he couldn't do it.
So he was basically the Tom Sizemore of this movie.
Yeah, except he was drunk while making this movie. Not Tom Sizemore wasn't supposedly not getting high while he did Saving Private Ryan.
Again, don't believe it.
Just saying,
don't believe it.
They said they tested him every day, man.
That's great. You can fake drug tests.
That's fair. But yeah, you're right. The whole movie pays off the swallow joke right there. With, how do you know so much about swallows? You got to know these things when you're a king.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that was your big payoff. It's dumb, but it's funny.
Let's see. All right, here we go. Arthur and Belvedere cannot find Lancelot after they cross the bridge, unaware that he has been arrested by police investigating the historian's death. The pair reach Castle Arg, only to find it occupied by the French soldiers. After being repelled by showers of manure, they summon an army of knights to prepare to assault the castle. As the army charges, the police arrive, arrest Arthur and Bedivere for the murder of the historian, and break the camera, ending the film.
You know, the ending kind of lost me.
It's kind of a weird ending.
The
But again,
ending really lost me.
They didn't know how to end it, and they didn't have enough money to actually have like a battle scene. Like all the people that were in that scene, that is cast, crew, family, and like some students from a local college.
Okay.
And they paid the students $2 or whatever. $2 back then.
So it's probably like $20 a day or something.
Yeah, probably. To come out there, and I think they gave them food to come out there. And,
so it was they had dinner and then they had enough to go get drinks afterwards.
Pretty much.
It's fair.
I mean, I would have done it.
Hell yeah, I'd have done it.
Being a movie, hell yeah.
So one of my buddies, well, you know Derek.
Yeah, I know Derek.
Yeah, not gonna say his last name, but he's been an extra in 2 or 3 movies. I know he was in it. He was in We Are Marshall.
Really?
Yeah, he's been an extra in a couple of films.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, he doesn't have an IMDb credit or anything, but
yeah.
he's been in some stuff.
So I've got a buddy of mine who lives up in Toronto, actually, and his wife has been in like a whole bunch of stuff. But some of the biggest parts she's had was she's been in a bunch of the new Star Trek Discovery episodes. Like she's gotten the makeup and everything. I don't know if she's actually had a line or not, but she's been in the back.
No shit.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
I'd do that.
I'd do it in a heartbeat. It'd be fun. So,
even though Star Wars is better than Star Trek,
apples and oranges, baby. You can't really compare.
Star Wars is better than Star Trek.
You're drunk. All right, let's go into top 5 Triple Indy, and we'll finish up with our ratings and reviews. All righty, top 5 trivia. This was done on an incredibly small budget. The Pythons found funding from an unlikely source: rock bands. This is a true story. Groups like Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, and Pink Floyd helped get the money up for production, with a portion of the funds coming from Pink Floyd's album Dark Side of the Moon. This is a trend that would continue later with The Life of Brian, when a large portion of the funding came from former Beatle George Harrison. When Harrison asked why he funded the film, he responded, "Because I wanted to see it." Number 2, the film also represents the directorial debut of both Terry Jones and Terry Gilliam, who decided that anyone named Terry got to direct the Python's first film. Haha. Attempting to co-direct led to some conflicts, so the Terry split up the responsibilities, with Jones handling the actors while Gilliam worked on the cinematography. They go on to direct the remaining Python films together, and Jones would additionally direct Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, while Gilliam's lengthy directorial career would include such classics as The Fisher King, Brazil, Time Bandits, 12 Monkeys, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, and more. 12 Monkeys is one of my favorite movies growing up. That's such a good, weird movie, you know?
Oh, yeah. I've seen that, but it's been a very long time.
Yeah, and Fear and Loathing is a good movie, too.
That movie is a trip.
It's literally an acid trip.
Oh, I'm clear.
I already said this one, sorry. Number 3, The Vicious Killer Rabbit of, what's it called again? Carnabog?
Yeah.
Yeah. Had parts of its fur dyed red to represent the blood of the knights that it spilt with its large pointy teeth. Unfortunately, the dye used wouldn't wash out afterwards, and the rabbit's owner was furious. Already said this too. Sorry. Number 4, by the time the Pythons actually got around to doing the credits, they run out of money. As a result, the credits were very simple, and Palin. What's his name?
Yeah, that guy.
Michael Palin. Yeah. Decided to spice them up a bit by adding the Swedish subtitles and the llama references. When the film was shown for the first time at Cannes, firemen rushed in at the end of the credits to evacuate the audience due to a bomb scare. The crowd didn't leave at first because they thought it was part of the show.
Christ.
Okay, and number 5, in part due to the low budget, Chapman and Cleese did all their own stunts. Oh, that's what it is. Graham Chapman and John Cleese was the Black Knight, and Graham Chapman was the other knight, the first knight that got killed. They did their own stunts for the Black Knight scene. The two used heavy swords and some acrobatics for added realism. Connie Booth had brought her and John Cleese's young daughter to the filming, who, during the fight, turned to her mom and said, "Daddy doesn't like that man, does he?" All right, Triple Lindy, here we go.
The Triple Lindy. Triple Lindy.
Is that hard?
It's impossible.
All right. How do you choose the Triple Lindy on this one?
You know, the whole movie's a fucking Triple Lindy. But if I had to pick one part, it is as unbelievable as it could be. I think that a rabbit could kill you, so I'm going to let that stand. My Triple Lindy is going to be flinging that fucking cow over the castle walls.
Nice.
And Patsy getting back up afterwards.
That's fair. I think I'm gonna have to go with. I like the bunny one. That's pretty good, even though you can tell it's a puppet. But when they cut off the knight's second leg, you can tell he gets lifted up. Like it's terribly done. It's cheaply done, and I think that actually, I find it funnier that it's so terribly done. But it's just like, it's quite obviously fake. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I think that would be my Triple Lindy is. I will say this though. So is John Cleese as the Black Knight when he gets his arms chopped off, but when they take off his first leg, they actually use the man who only had one leg. and so after they cut off the second leg and he's down in the hole, that's the guy with one leg. And the reason they did it that way is because they only had to dig one hole.
That's a little exploitative, but I'll allow it.
I mean, it works. All right. Well, Chris didn't get to come and do his own movie, but let's go ahead and do our ratings and reviews. You want to
It's up to you. You tell me.
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right, so I'm gonna break away a little bit here because on the one hand I respect what this movie did. It has stayed culturally relevant for almost 50 years, which that in and of itself is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am personally not a fan of British comedy, so that takes away a little bit for me. John Cleese has gone on to have an impressive career. He was Q, or well, no, he was R, I guess, in one of the Bond movies, for God's sake. And he was in the movie Rat Race, and that movie is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
The absurdity of this movie takes away from me a little bit. This is a 3-beer movie for me.
Okay.
It's not terrible, but it's not one of my favorites.
So I will say this. It's, for me, I think it's still a great movie. Maybe I've matured a little too much to really appreciate just how exactly zany it is. I wanted Abby to watch this with me, but I forgot about the oral sex part, and I'm glad she didn't. That is a question I would not like to have to answer. So I want her to watch this one day, but I want her to be a little bit older than 9. I mean, that's literally the only part of the movie
it's still a PG movie.
Yeah,
it's still a PG movie.
Yeah, I mean, she could watch it. I don't know. I would, if I were with her, that particular part would be very uncomfortable. But everything else, whatever. But you're right. It's still culturally relevant. It's still in our zeitgeist. It's still in our our language. It's just instantly recognizable. And I think just because of that, I'm going to give it an extra half a beer because of my own maturity, which is a weird thing to say. But I'm going to give it 1.5 beers. So, and you add those two together, you get 2.25.
Yes, you do.
So,
and that's probably right. I'd be really interested to see what. I'll bet you Trey would give this a beer or less.
You think so?
I think Trey. I'm gonna speculate. Trey would give this movie 1 beer.
Well, Chris chose,
and I could see Chris giving it a beer and a half.
I would go Chris. I would say Trey beer and a half, Chris 1 beer. I think Chris likes this probably more than Trey does. This is right up Chris's. This is so straight up Chris's alley.
It is, but Trey also pulls some shit out of left field, so I could see him going, yeah, it's a 1 beer movie.
Yeah. Well, obviously this is not going to touch your top 5. 20 years ago, this would have been in my top 5. I'd watched this movie. I don't know how. I owned it on DVD. I owned it on VHS. But I don't know. I think because of its zaniness, I've moved beyond it a little bit, but I still appreciate for what it is, because I did find myself laughing out loud when I was watching this.
And I think you can laugh at this movie, and I think you can appreciate it for what it has done for the film industry, for comedy, for whatever, and still admit that as it's aged, it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster.
Well, I don't think it's the film itself, because if it had lost some of its luster, it still wouldn't be as prevalent as it is now. I think we've just gotten older and we don't find the same things funny that we used to.
Well, but you have a younger generation coming up that's discovering it for the first time, and that's how it's maintaining its relativity, I guess, relevantness.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I say that because there's tons of movies that I loved when I was a kid or younger, and I watch now and go, I can still appreciate this movie for what it did and for what it is, but I don't enjoy it anymore. And you're right; it's probably a maturity thing. But that doesn't mean that we can't.
Flight of the Navigator.
But that doesn't mean that we can't pass that on to future generations. Because I would recommend this movie to somebody that had never seen it. I would say you need to go watch it.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Next week is going to be Trey's pick. So, yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there. I have to work next Sunday, so unfortunately, unless you guys want to record at like 9:00, I will not be here.
Well, maybe we can get it earlier, do Saturday or something like that. Well, I guess we got football, but so this is 97, 98. So I get 100.
Hey, we're not doing Shroomed and Doomed.
Yeah, maybe I am. Y'all don't have to.
Trey might come up there and see you for that.
I know he might. I would allow that. Until then, you can find us on the web at theguysreview.simplecast.com, or you can email me anything and I will read it poorly. theguysreviewpod@gmail.com, Instagram at theguysreviewpod, Twitter at @the_guysreview, Facebook.com/theguysreviewpod. Please subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcast from, especially on Apple iTunes. I would really appreciate that.
It's just giving us ratings and reviews on Apple iTunes. It helps people discover us and just see how fucking stupid we really are.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what it does. You got anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. Have a good night.
Yep. On behalf of Tucker, Chris, Trey, I am Steven, and you have listened to another episode of The Guys Review. Thanks so much. See you next week.